I just had a few things that maybe some of you don't know. Our story begins at Pancho's Pit, where I was introduced to Larry by a mutual friend. Where's Sandy over here? She was a neighbor. She arranged a blind date for a turkey party at St. James Church. Afterwards, Larry and I spent the rest of the evening at Steele's Bar. Some of you might remember that, getting to know each other. Soon after, Larry invited me to his apartment for supper. He had made a delicious dinner of meatloaf, mashed potatoes, green beans, and peach cobbler. Wow, I was pretty impressed. Although at the time I had no interest in another relationship, I was very impressed with his sincere thoughts and listening skills. He always made me feel like I was the most important person in his life. I took note of how he treated his mom. He visited her weekly for lunch, ran errands, mowed her lawn. He loved his boys. He had them every other weekend, and took them on vacations every summer. Larry and I married August 19th, 1977. Larry loved my children as his own, and he was the best dad to him. We were a happy family and continued with many great vacations with the 4 kids. He adored his grandchildren. He went to their sports events, enjoyed coaching Kate's softball, and her weekends spent with us, also with Carly and Mackenzie and Jamie, our niece. Larry loved his brothers and sister and was supportive, and the one that they could always count on. Before I even met him, continued through his lifetime. He loved his friends and their children and enjoyed time with them. We had many friends, and he was very social, as you all know. He loved our lake house, especially working in the yard and spending hours gazing at the lake. Larry enjoyed watching the bird activity out our kitchen window. In our later days, we sat and enjoyed them for hours. He became a hummingbird lover, and we had hundreds of them. They would come to the window looking for him when their feeders were empty. And most of all, he loved me with all his heart, always telling me so. I found a message that I have up there in his chair, the pocket of his chair after he had passed away. I assume he felt that I would find it. He woke up every morning with a smile on his face and talking faster than my mind could comprehend. He took such good care of me over the 46 years of our marriage. He was known for his good cooking and won first place in a local chili contest. Larry was very meticulous and organized. Measurements were precise, and his attention to detail made my life the last few months easier. He loved sports and chatting with friends about it. He loved bowling, and he bowled in the Nice Egg League for many years, and then many years with his best friend Butch and son AJ in a group till he just couldn't do it any longer. James Bond movies were his favorite, and he had a fascination with the mafia that he shared with Dave Natale. We did lots of traveling in our earlier years, highlighting Hawaii and the Canary Islands, Aruba. We went on a cruise. We spent Easter vacations with my sister Sally and high school friends at Myrtle Beach for many years. Also many years in Cape Coral with Russ and Renee and John and Kathy. We did enjoy a good life. He always looked forward to the annual golf at Ekstrom's in Virginia, clam bakes and the barbecues at Yezzy's, and our Friday night dinners. He had very special things to say about each and every one of you here today. As he declined, he was so appreciative of the visits and phone calls and cards. He was my rock, my confidant, and the best husband in every way. I miss him every day, and he'll live forever in my heart. Thank you for coming.
I don't like to follow Becky because every time she cries, I cry. I'm Dorcas, Becky's best friend since we were 6 years old. All of us here knew Larry as a friend, co-worker, father, and husband. Larry thought Becky walked on water. He really thought that. And that was very nice for her. He was married to my best friend of 70 years, and I considered her one of my sisters, so he was very much like a brother-in-law to me. There was Larry, the great listener when you needed a friend, and Larry, the interactive friend, loud, brash, fun, always willing to help. He was always there to cook the wings for all my boys' graduation parties and birthday parties. My Mark tried to call him when he was starting to decline and go downhill. Larry didn't want to put up with any annoying marketing calls, so Mark would call him and Larry would hang up. Mark would call and Larry would hang up and say, "Don't call me, I'm a sick man, hang up." Finally, Mark called and said, "Larry, it's me, Mark Natale. I want to tell you how much you mean to me." So he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry." Larry liked to talk to David about baseball, basketball, and the Teflon Don Mafia. My son Chris, his bachelor party was held at a famous steakhouse in New York City where a mafia shootout took place, and Larry thought that was just the best place in the world to be. Becky asked Larry to ask Dick if he wanted to meet Becky's best friend Dorcas. And he was frustrated with Dick when Dick asked if that was my last name. And he said, "No, that's not her last name, that's her first name." Becky and Larry eventually stood up for us at our wedding. Larry was a great cook, as everyone knows. Everything he made was always delicious. He supervised my movers when I sold my house on Krager Road, and he and Ken Miebert nixed my drive to Raleigh with a wicker love seat on top of the car when I moved to North Carolina. They always they kept telling me was, "Dorcas, no, Dorcas, no." So I guess I didn't take it. And I remember his reprimand to Becky when she would tease him and talk about something he didn't want to hear at dinner time. He would reprimand her. He was scrupulous about soft silverware, bottles aligned properly, even in the fridge. If you wanted anything organized, call Larry. He loved bowling, baseball, golf, and his black Cadillac. He was a great dancer, and we went to a lot of oldies dances with Becky and Larry. He mowed his mother's lawn religiously every week and was very attentive to her needs. I miss his loud, echoing sneeze that reverberated in their kitchen oven hood. And I miss seeing him sit on the front porch swing as I drove up, always welcoming me. He made my best friend very happy. We could always count on Becky and Larry, always. He was my dear friend, and I'll miss him always.
I got no clue how to follow that. We're going to have anybody in the room say whatever they'd like to say. I'm willing to start things. I hope you will consider speaking as well. Just in the quick introduction, my name's Russ Williams. I worked at NYSEG for 40 years, and of those 40 years, Larry was there 38. We got to know each other rather well. We both retired January 1, 2000, 20 plus years ago, and I think we enjoyed every minute. My challenge today is to tell the stories I can tell. Yeah, there'll be notes afterwards.
Just say anything.
When I remember Larry, I remember good people, good times, great memories, examples, and I'll give it from a guy's point of view. Several things come to mind. Number one would be Downs Avenue Tavern. A working man's pub. Regular people. You could be whoever you wanted to be. And pretty much say whatever you wanted to say. We loved it. We called it unsupervised time. We didn't have to behave. We didn't have to be adults. And that made it perfect. And we played this crazy game. Euchre. Has anybody ever heard of it? You gotta be a little off-center just to say you know and understand it. Aces weren't high, jacks were high, if they were the right color. But if they weren't the right color, they weren't worth shit. And you're supposed to remember all of this? And you started by throwing half the deck away. Anything below a 9 was gone. You got 5 cards and you played them as fast as you could. The saving grace was the intellectuals at that table. Russ Reed, John Cooper, Denny Ploutz, yours truly, Larry, Wayne Sherwood, John Ekstrom, George Jesse. About 400 years of experience, and you could say whatever you wanted to say. Larry's strength was at hand. Larry loved to talk. And talk. And talk. The beauty of it is, we didn't care what you said, we didn't care what you thought. We had our moments together and loved them. The next best would be golfing in Virginia, Bedford. Somewhere between 12, 14 guys traveled in from New York. All in the same house, all at the same time, all drinking, all playing cards, all solving the world's problems. And then we would call it a day, and all of us would head down to a basement wide open, maybe 40 by 60, and 14 guys would start to snore together. A symphony of sound. We'd get up in the morning and do it all over again. We were young and stupid and healthy, and we loved it. Larry loved it too. And he'll tell you if he was here today, he actually hit a 3-wood, 200 yards.
Wow.
45 years ago. But he loved it, and we loved him too. And then there's the Friday night group. We'd go to any place in town you could get, from a burger to the best of steakhouse. The ladies would chat and chat and chat and chat, and our only saving grace, Larry could stay with them, so we stayed with Larry. Good times. Straight shooter. Not an ounce of bullshit anywhere in him. He treated his friends like they were the best in the world. I am grateful. But I want to take you way back and finish with this little story about how they came to meet the rest of the NYSEG group. Let's go back to December 1976. Becky and Larry had just started dating. Larry was all puffed up and proud, had this beautiful woman at his side, and he wanted everybody to know. So they came to the biggest event at the time, the NYSEG Christmas party. St. Mike's, Clinton Street, Lupke's, anybody? Best in the world. He prances in with this lovely lady at his side, except one little thing. She's got this great big, ugly, purple, blue chin. What happened? Somebody hit her with a baseball bat?
It was Becky.
Not Larry, not gentleman Larry. He decided they ought to go to the emergency room, and that they did. They walked in, and Larry says to the guy, she was checking the oil in the car, and the hood fell down and hit her and drove her head right into the engine. I had nothing to do with it. Guy says, is that your best story? That's it? That's what you got? They actually separated them, put them in separate rooms, give their separate testimonies, Larry passed. And that's why we're here today. Would anybody else like to speak?
It's tough to follow all this. Nice job, Russ. I'm Dick Stein. I'm Dorcas's lesser half. I first met Larry in 1964. He was hired at NYSEG in the drafting room because I had just left the drafting room. And he filled the job that I had. Larry persevered in the drafting room and the department, and eventually managed the print room and the copy center at NYSEG. He was a trusted employee by several of the upper management personnel. Larry was good at organizing, as has been mentioned already. He started a function on Friday nights called the Steak Bake. Anybody remember that? Larry was responsible to start it. You'd cook your own steak. It was held at Ansco Lake, which I don't even know if that exists anymore. But,
The lake is.
he would get a band or a guy that played CDs, and we'd have fun and dance and sing and have a few beers. Larry was very proud of that event, and he deserved to be. It was a good time had by all. Larry was a big sports fan, as everybody has said. He loved watching sports on TV. He's a big Yankee fan, and now he can watch the Yankees all the time. He used to go on the golf trip with us to Ekstrom's. He wasn't always so happy with his golf game, but he enjoyed socializing with all the gang. Everybody got along with Larry, and Larry got along with everybody. The golf trips were a lot of fun. If memory serves me right, we would leave early, like 4 a.m. on a Thursday in late April to drive to the Ekstrom Ranch in Virginia, stopping on the way down to play 18 holes of golf after driving like 500 miles or whatever it was, and sometimes play in the snow. Then upon reaching Virginia, 3 more days of golf and socializing, followed by lots of good times. Larry was a good husband, father, grandfather, and a friend to all of us who knew him. He, of course, will be missed by all of us.
Okay, we're going to wrap it up there, but I do want to have one more thought on the table before we go, and this one's for you, Beck. Thank you for being with us today. We miss him, we're sure you miss him, but I want you to pause for a moment. The second reason we're here today, to celebrate his life, sure, but to tell you, this is your team. Take a quick look around this room. All of us are here at your beck and call. We're a pleasure to be by your side. There's one caveat. Pretty much have to accept our performance as it is. Just a few quick examples. Dick and I have tried to be electricians. We can turn a half-hour job into a 4-hour special, I'm going to tell you that right now.
Mirror hangers, too.
Mirror hangers. We can hang a mirror and come that close to being level. I'm telling you the truth right there. We are very poor carpenters.
That's because you're non-union.
Oh my God. Just in case you don't know the adversary, Willie Vermillion. NYSEG, probably 40 years.
Yeah.
Last call. Thanks for being here, and make sure you stop and leave your phone number and available hours with Becky. Thank you.
Yes.